folks. I'm Sarah Rochelle, and welcome back to... This isn't a welcome back. This is hi, ibchatting again. So I guess it's a welcome back. This, it's got to go up a tad bit higher, is exactly how the bracket's going to play out for the Overwatch League Stage 3 playoffs, which I probably could have put a note on the screen, and I understand that I'm moving this and it's not very stable. But, so these are the setups games for here. This is seed 1, 2, I want to say 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 5 and 6 I don't know, because those are the ones that you will see in a second. These are the first set of games. This is how they're going to go. My personal opinion of how I want the rest of it to play out has been decided that I want Houston to win, San Fran to win, Shanghai to win, and Hangzhou. And because of seeding stuff, Hangzhou is going to play Shanghai if this happens, and San Fran's going to play Houston. Now, these are my top 4 favorite teams. Favorite team, second favorite team, third favorite team, fourth favorite team. Actually, these two are kind of like at about the same level, but I think that one's a little higher because I have a little first season loyalties here. Technically, Vancouver's my home team until Seattle gets one. And then from here, I want Houston and Shanghai to win because, you know, my favorites, and then Houston to win it all. But I ran out of little papers that I printed out and I was too lazy to print more. So Houston to win all. Yay, Houston! The problem is that is the least realistic outcome. This is not going to work. This may work, and these two are probably the most realistic. The San Fran and Hangzhou are the most realistic predictions I have. Because in this matchup here, Valiant has been doing very well. Kariv has been nailing it with the Ana and everything. They beat the Vancouver Titans. Like, it's not, like, there's a reason they are in this stage playoff. But Hangzhou has been a little bit more consistent. I haven't watched as many of these games recently, so this is still off the top of my head and more seeding things. Hangzhou is seeded higher. So, that's the current thing. But I still think, and the reason I picked up Hangzhou, by the way, is because I watched Gu Shui in the World Cup and he was nailing it. But now that they've kind of settled into everything, I think this could be an upset. This is the thing here is, I don't know. I think Hangzhou is going to pull it away because they've been a little more stable throughout the season. But Valiant has been really adapting to this new meta well. So there is a decent possibility that Valiant win this one. I still think consistently wise, we have to pull on that, and Hangzhou is going to pull it out. But that's the thing. This matchup here, Seoul and San Fran. Seoul has been doing well. Seoul's also adapted well. Haven't seen many of Seoul's games, so I'm not 100% sure. And San Fran, on the other hand, has always been consistent, been in the meta, but they're seeded lower. I think they're the 4th seed this time, just because they lost a few matches, including one to the, of course, Houston. Oh, let's go Houston. Actually, that was the first loss of the stage that they got, was to the Houston. Yes. But I think the thing over here is that even though I like Seoul, and I think Seoul has been adapting too, San Fran's adapted in such a way that no other team has, and they've added Baptiste to their 3-3. Instead of pulling in the Sombra, which they can, it's not like they can't pull out the Sombra. Rascal has nailed the Baptiste and is probably one of the Baptiste players, best Baptiste players in the league currently, and so that's how they adapted. That's something that no other team is really doing, so it's hard to prep for that. So I think San Fran has the edge here. So these are the picks that aren't changing. Hangzhou is going to win, San Fran's going to win. So in this case, with the New York Excelsior and Shanghai, we'll start here because this is my favorite team, so we're going to end there and why they're not going to win that game. Shanghai actually adapted the Sombra in the last stage. So they've already kind of been prepped for that. But you'd think that because they adapted it in the last stage, that they'd be like ready to go and nailing everything. It hasn't been that way. They've kind of stumbled a little bit and had a couple of closer matches. I think, did they lose to the Valiant this stage? I should know this. I should have something here, but I don't. Now, I understand Shanghai's the underdog, and New York Excel, Sabiolbi is back, and I'm so excited. Except he's back on the Sombra. Now, the first game when he played the Sombra against Houston, it wasn't great. But every game after that, it's looked a lot better, and they've adapted a little bit better, plus they have the back 3-3 to go to. I think, though, with like how the DPS is flexing into this more, Shanghai has a little bit better flexibility with that. So if seeding wise doesn't play out, this is a thing that could happen where Shanghai does win this matchup just because they have more flexibility in their starting roster that they've been running to flow onto the DPS heroes or go back to the 3-3 and everything. If any upset happens, it's probably going to be, sorry, there's notes over here, then I'm going to remember to hit Shanghai over XL. I doubt it. I think XL is a little bit stronger and just a little bit more stable, and Shanghai is kind of flustered. You'd think that being the first team that pulls Sombra regularly, you'd think Shanghai would have nailed this stage. Like, this should have been their stage, and they are the 8th ranked seed. Like, they're seated below Houston, who had a 0-7 stage last time. So there is the possibility of an upset here, but that's only if they choose to flex more, and it's something that New York doesn't work with and be able to counteract. Now, on to here we go. This one here. Now, Vancouver is seeded second, I think. Yeah, they seeded second because I think New York had a perfect stage. Vancouver versus Houston. They've played once before, in which Houston took a map off of them, playing multi-DPS back in stage 2 on Busan. But Busan at the and still is one of the ones that multi-DPS comps tend to work out well for. And that was against a more 3-3 comp. Although Vancouver tends to flex. They tend to pull out things like Bumper on Hanzo, or Bumper on Junkrat, or Bumper on whatever. Bumper's the main tank! They pulled quad DPS on Horizon Lunar Colony and capped both points of that. Quad DPS and 2 supports. Not even a tank. Houston probably would pull out the same thing. This matchup, Vancouver is highly likely to win. It is highly likely Vancouver is going to win. The only cautionary tale that Vancouver needs to be aware of in this one is the fact that Houston has taken a map off them before in a multi-DPS composition. And now that was versus when Vancouver was only running triple tank, triple support, and when it came back to triple tank, triple support, Vancouver dominated that matchup. But with this Ana, the Ana and the Sombra edition now that Houston's been running, and Lynx are doing very well in Zarya recently, like, that starting lineup can flex a little bit more. Like, Lynxer, Zarya is looking a lot better than it was. The only way this Houston ends up winning, which I'm super hoping for, if you notice, I may or may not be wearing an Outlaws merchandised hoodie because I can, is if Houston manages to work out their triple tank. I'm trying to hold this as straight as possible and it's not working. Not manage to work, but pulls out their triple DPS and nails it, and Vancouver can't handle it. Like, they just don't adjust or anything, and their DPS players don't outplay the thing. The thing is, the flexibility is with Houston. Because even though Bumper, their main tank, has played DPS before, he doesn't look as strong on it, because he's not a DPS main. He is a tank main. I don't know how well he plays the Wrecking Ball, and Muma is very good with the Wrecking Ball. Muma and Among on the Chengdu Hunters are probably the only two that seem to have a lot more hours on the Wrecking Ball to make it viable and everything. So, Vancouver, I don't know if Houston runs triple DPS and it's giving Vancouver problems, even in a triple tank, triple support. I don't know if Vancouver has that flexibility on their main line to accept, if Stitch is in, then they do. But if they have their normal 6 that they run, they don't have as much flexibility. So there's a slight possibility of an upset, but I highly doubt it. I think Vancouver is just going to be the more stable team, in all honesty, to win. So now that means these picks change, which goes flunk and flunk, and I understand that it doesn't match the matchups. That's because of seeding issues, and we'll worry about those ones in a bit. Because of seeding here. Now, if the XL wins their matchup, they actually play San Fran because of how high-low seeds work and everything. And San Fran, in this matchup, I think has a little bit more flexibility than New York does in their 6 that they tend to run. And I think that's the only reason that I'd probably pick San Fran over New York. Because even though San Fran doesn't have the same record that New York does, it always seems like New York's consistency falls off a little bit when it comes to playoffs. In this case here, Hangzhou versus Vancouver. Vancouver, I think, has won the prior games against Hangzhou, and I think Vancouver's still going to win, because I think these are two teams that are more likely to play triple tank, triple support, in which case Vancouver is the dominant team in that. San Fran, I think Sinatra Zarya is probably one of the best in the league. If anything, Somansu may have a little bit over it. Not much. I still think Sinatra Zarya is the best in the league, which means these two picks are lies, deceit, and slander. That's not true. Those are the wishful thinking ones. Finals are going to be a rematch. Honest picks, finals are probably going to be a rematch. If this is how the seeding works out here, and San Fran does end up playing New York may have a shot to win, and this one pairing is a little more up in the air. But I didn't figure out all the seeding that if this other stuff doesn't happen. I'm not figuring out every single possibility. It's too much work. This could be a possible change. But with Vancouver versus San Fran, it's probably going to be a rematch. And it depends on if both teams just straight up run triple tanks of triple support, it's going to go either way. But if they start flexing a little onto the Sombras, onto the Tracers, onto the DPS and offensive heroes in general, San Fran, I think, has a tad bit more of an edge just because they have more flexibility in their main lineup with Sinatra, because he started as a Tracer player, and everything else that they can flex a little bit more onto that. That's just how I think it's going to play out. Either way, it's going to go either way. If this is a final, I'm probably rooting for San Fran in that case, because I do like San Fran. They're a good team, and they worked really hard last season to just build a base team. My hope is that Houston makes it past round 1 against Vancouver. It's a long shot, okay? But these are my predictions, with the main winner being San Fran. Sorry, Houston. Sorry, Vancouver. Sorry, everybody. But, well, that's more of a hopeful thing. In all honesty, it's hard to judge between San Fran. Let me put this back. I'm going to put this back because it makes me mad that I've unstuck it. There we go. It's back. It makes me... I really don't want to see a rematch of the prior 2 stage playoffs. I really hope this changes up. If this is what happens, I kind of want to see Hangzhou and New York have really competitive series. And maybe pull out. Because if any upsets happen, it's going to be here and here. These two, this one especially, this one is really up in the air. The matchup between the LA Valiant and the Hangzhou Spark are really up in the air. Because that's the one where Valiant are on the up and up, and Hangzhou has kind of been steady. And sometimes everything peaks at just the right time, and Valiant may be at that time. So if this upset happens, I have no idea what the rest of the seeding is going to be. At all. I'd like to see... Here's what I'd like to see. I'd like to see all competitive series. I'd like the Houston versus Vancouver game to be more competitive than... I know this camera isn't focusing on that because it's focusing on me because I'm the best, which is a lie. I'm not the best. I want this game to be super competitive and not just be like Houston takes the control map at the beginning, especially if it is Busan, and Vancouver just dominates the rest. I want to see more offense being played on the side of Vancouver. I want to see a switch up in the lineup. I don't necessarily want to see bumper on any offense. I want to see cleverness pulled out of Vancouver, not just cheese in it. Because that's what they tend to do, is they either show a disrespectful play. I mean, 4 DPS, 4 offensive, 2 supports worked. I'm not saying it didn't work. It's just that it was more of a disrespect play than anything. And I want to see Vancouver hold themselves to a little higher standard of things. Houston had to come out of nowhere and make this stage a stage. Like, they're on the up and up too. They lost to Florida. Don't question it, but some days teams have bad days, and they lost to New York XL. Those are the only 2 teams they lost to this stage. Houston, they beat the San Francisco Shock. Houston is on the rise, and I'd like to see that bring in a competitive series. I do think, though, that it's going to be hard for them to outplay a 3-3 by Vancouver with just an offensive hero lineup, but it could happen. I don't know the future. Nobody knows the future. Anything could happen. This is just kind of what I think will probably happen. And you started with what I think should happen and what I'd like to happen with Houston winning it all, because I have a tiny little Houston tag still. But Stage 3 playoffs are this week. Go watch them on the Overwatch League. I am not sponsored by the Overwatch League. I'm just a very big fan of the Overwatch League. I'm Sarah Shell. This has been my Stage 3 playoff predictions, and thank you for watching, Pete.